What went wrong with the JAMB exam?
So these two places were heavily affected.
I see.
You barely see anybody that scored above 200.
We're paying people as much as 500K a month to be teachers.
So that I bring everybody out from 70% failure in JAMB to 100% success.
In this episode, I wrote a blog about what 1.5 million JAMB failures tells us about how we design exams. And I'll be speaking with Alex Onyia, someone that knows one or two things about exams, the founder and CEO of Educare. Join me. Hi, Alex.
Hello, Boye.
Yeah, thank you for taking the invitation and coming. Glad to have you here.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
Yeah, for those who don't know, we have been friends for many years.
Yes, I think since 2015. 2015. Yeah. 2015. Yes.
When Amina did the introduction.
Yes.
And then you were doing Educare.
Yeah.
So it's interesting that
you guys raised like $20,000 with faculty engineering.
Yeah, one of the early accelerators.
Yeah.
They were giving small money. But yeah, what's interesting is that you stuck with Educare since then.
Yeah.
And I remember you had one really large customer there. Now you have many.
That's like a British school.
Yes.
That was our best customer, I remember.
Yeah. And what you've done, most of the things we're talking about then when we're looking at your product, I was giving a lot of feedback on the product direction.
Yeah.
They've now come to pass, and that's very interesting.
Honestly.
For those who don't know Educare, right? What do you guys do? What is Educare?
So basically, Educare is an ERP solution. It's like an operating system that has all the tools for schools, academics, finance, HR. But the good thing is that every single thing is in one place. It's like an SAP for schools.
Right.
So normally they use the word school management, but it's a lot bigger than that. Then we also have a public facing, which is exams.educare. It helps students. I mean, you can see this JAMB exam, best JAMB exam in 9 years. Educare did a lot of magic. So that's kind of what it does.
Amazing work with the exam part, right? Yeah. And this is part of why we're having this conversation. I wrote an article about how our designing of exams is fundamentally flawed.
Yeah.
And initially when the first result came out, 1.5 million children failed JAMB. And one of the students committed suicide, and many people were very depressed, and it led to a lot of crisis. And in fact, the JAMB registrar was crying in front of TV. We had to set up a committee, which you got an invitation for.
Yeah.
Tell me about in a way, you become almost like an activist in this area. You had to wade into the crisis. Tell me about the work you've been doing before the JAMB crisis, and then what you then had to do during crisis.
So, 2 years, for the past 2 years, I decided that I'm going to dedicate a lot of my time, energy, and resources to actually see that our education system works. So I've been doing a lot. I started from my village to ensure that I bring everybody out from 70% failure in JAMB to 100% success. We worked a lot in the primary schools, the teacher training, a lot of things, because the charity begins at home.
Yep.
So I did a lot from my home. Then I started coming out, doing a lot in Enugu, doing a lot in Nigeria, started going to Gambia and a lot of other countries.
Yeah.
So basically, I've always been in front of it. So, Educare exams, we made it open and free for everyone.
Yeah. What went wrong with the JAMB exam?
So what happened is there was a major glitch. They call it human error, which was, the simplest way to explain it is there was a patch update that helped in the grading system. That patch update wasn't pushed. So the grading didn't use the update, and other clusters worked well, but the lag cluster did not work well, right? So that lag cluster is, they have sub-clusters, but the main one is Lagos zone, and then the Imo zone, which has all the Southeast states. So these two places were heavily affected.
I see.
You barely see anybody that scored above 200.
Right.
And I already knew there are some students that were already used to benchmark scores. And you see them scoring 140, which is not practicable. Right. And that was when I...
So you had literally, and remember you had to collate a lot of grievances.
Yeah, like 20,000 plus.
Right. And then you had to say, this is not right.
Everything wasn't going well. Then
when many people were watching you and trying to see if there's anything that will come out of it. And eventually that ended up well.
Yes.
Right.
So when we had to exercise pressure and then we have to go to the legal route, and JAMB saw that, no, you can't escape this one. This one has to be fixed.
Right.
And then thank God that they had to rewrite the exam.
Yeah, glad about everything kind of working out eventually, and those people who then got reviewed scores.
Yes.
But it's the thing with the crisis is that there has been over the years, this exam has become a placement test of sorts where children are trying to get into some specific type of schools that are low cost and maybe medium quality.
Yeah.
And, in my article, right, why 1.5 million children fail and why the reason why they're failing is not just because of them, but because of how we're designing exams. I classify the exams to be two kinds, right? Good exams and bad exams. And bad exams like JAMB and WAEC are just exams that the purpose of the exam is not to help the system improve. It's just to place people and, and kind of ration limited spaces rather than try to help us say, okay, how do we get to the North Star of our educational system? So what do you think about that? Like,
For me, I think exams, aside from the internal school exams, external assessment exams or ranking exams like JAMB are usually not designed to help people. Yeah, it's basically to be able to rank you whenever for JAMB specifically it's for ranking.
Yes.
So they want to know if you scored 360, which is like a benchmark for you to apply for medicine in their partner university, because JAMB is basically a partnership with all universities.
Yeah. So in a way, it's doing what it's supposed to do.
Yes.
However, the question is now, where are the exams that's supposed to help us to figure out how to improve the system?
So I think more of the improvement exams should be more of internal school exams.
Right.
Yes, I completely agree on that. That was why there's one tool that we have. We call it gap analysis tool. So internal school exams should actually help to measure your progress and give you meaningful feedback to help you improve.
But how do you standardize that? Because the question is, everybody can come up with their own standard. In some schools, you get an A. In another school, that same A is a C. Right. So, that's why I propose that there needs to be a form of,
I think WAEC should be in the best position to give those kind of very meaningful feedbacks.
Right.
Yes.
But why don't you get that already?
Unfortunately, you can see what's happening, that they're writing WAEC by 9 p.m. So, exams are writing at 9 p.m. How do you expect such magic from them? So, I feel that it's something that maybe now that they're moving to CBT, I think if they work with the right vendor, they should be able to give them the right technology. Because the idea is they should write the exam, see your score, see the feedback that can actually help you improve.
Yeah. I propose something that the common entrance exam is the closest exam we have, just because of how early it is, like after primary 6, and how it's kind of, can be equivalent to an illiteracy test.
Okay.
So I propose something called National Literacy Test.
Okay, the NLT.
Yes, and then the NLT.
Okay.
Where children can then take this test. Right now it currently tests reading and arithmetic. The only thing missing is writing. Right? And with AI, you can score writing.
Definitely.
So if they move to CBT, you can actually add writing to it.
Yes.
And then use that to figure out where the system is. How many people are literate? Because all the data we have, and you agree with me, is all external. It's World Bank that's telling us.
Or UNESCO.
or UNICEF. These are the people who are telling us what we are doing.
And they do a lot of random sampling.
Yes, very random sampling, and sometimes not representative, as you may know.
I completely agree.
So the thing is, we need more data, and we need data that can inform what we're doing. Anyway, let me switch gears a bit to the economics of exams and schools. Right? We talked before this session. And you are saying something about how you feel that we can improve the economics to improve quality. You want to tell me a little bit about that?
Okay.
So in terms of how many schools are available,
the reason why there's so much pressure is we have very few schools in Nigeria. Very few federal schools, very few polytechnics, and very few state schools.
Yeah.
And that small size is what everybody wants to come in.
Yeah.
And now there are some courses that are highly oversubscribed, like medicine, like engineering.
Yes.
So you see that, let's say 300,000 children want to do medicine, and medicine can only take less than 3,000.
Yes.
So you can see that there's a lot of pressure in those things. So I feel that we need to, if you remember what happened in private education, that's why common entrance at this point kind of have lost its relevance. Remember then there's battle, you want to go to FGGC.
But do you think that was a good thing? Because the question now is whether that's because what is happening in primary to secondary school level is the opposite of what's happening in secondary school to university. So in primary to secondary school, because there are a large number of low cost secondary schools, right? the pressure to go to Queen's College or King's College is not as much as it used to be.
Yes.
Right? So everybody's doing their own placement tests, and common entrance exam is just for a few schools.
Yes.
In fact, out of about 7 million people that finish primary school, only 100,000 of them write common entrance.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Really?
So it's very, it's insignificant.
Nobody ever, that means people barely write again.
Yes. Actually, my hypothesis is that if JAMB, right? If the university system was such that there are a lot of low-cost universities, right? JAMB will suffer the same fate.
I completely agree with you, 100%.
Yes.
And I pray that we get to that very fast.
Yes, I think that's where we need to be.
Yeah, we really need. Right. A lot of private schools are empty.
Yes, and the sad story of someone like Faith who committed suicide by taking rat poison.
Yeah. No. Anytime I remember about Timila, I feel really sad.
Yes.
I feel really, really, really sad.
Yeah, man. So rest in peace. I want to move to, general how policy.
Okay.
What kind of policy ideas have you come across?
I've thought about different things, but one of the first things I've always thought about starting with the teachers. I feel that teaching profession should regain back its value, regain back its pride.
How will it?
The last recommendation, the first thing first, as a teacher, we should. Starting as a first teacher should probably. Maybe your salary should start with like a 400K and a brand new car.
Yeah, but government say they don't have money.
No, they always have money because they have 15 trillion to build a road that nobody's going to use. So I think
that is very political.
Yes. So there's money. It depends on what is their priority. And all these people that are doing this, their children are not in Nigeria. So I feel that we need to prioritize education, especially public education. That is one. I feel that it's important that we make those kind of very critical investments. Secondly, the requirement to be a teacher, we have to make it high. I recommended the master's degree and then a minimum of 2-1. So that means if you're actually a teacher, you should be a teacher. Remember now in school, the best are usually never teachers.
Yes. Even now, the low JAMB scores, this JAMB we're talking about, when you get a bad score, that's when you go to College of Education.
Exactly.
Right? You can't get to top school.
You can't. And then at the end of the day, they leave. Nobody because the teacher. So I think we need to start changing everything. Teachers need to earn the best earners in the country.
Yeah.
Because for me, teaching is one of the most important professions. Then our teacher training colleges, we need to actually overhaul everything.
Yeah.
We need to set the highest level of standards.
I agree. So the question is just how, because people struggle with that how. Like if it's say, maybe one, you use the money, right? So you dedicate more money, right? One of the ideas that I have heard about, and this is something that has been implemented in the past, in the early 2000s in US and several countries, is something called the value-added model, right? Where it's not about giving teachers the same salary across the board. It's about saying if we are able to isolate that one teacher is helping a child improve faster, right? We pay for better performance of teachers. So first of all, we rank and we measure teacher performance. So the value-added model works in a way that they would use the prior test scores of a class, of a student, and predict his future score. If the teacher beats that future score, they would say that was as a result of the teacher's input. Right. And so do you believe in that type of system?
No, I believe so much, but I think the baseline remuneration model should actually be in place.
It should still be high.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, these things are very practicable in private schools, right? But in public schools, it's very far. So we need to bring them up to some standards, right? There's one of the recommendations.
Just baseline.
Yes, let's even have the baseline. So by the time you start introducing some of these super amazing incentives, it now makes sense. And then we need to scrape out a lot of low quality teachers.
Yeah.
And then bring in a lot of top quality people and retrain them, because by the time
how do you attract someone to become a teacher when it's not that?
You start from the pay, yes.
I agree.
If you have a good pay, everybody moves. Money is one of the most important motivations.
Yeah, one of the things that we're doing at Greatly right now is that we're hiring the top teachers, and we're paying people as much as 500K a month. To be teachers. So we have teachers in Greatly that are earning that much. So, so there's a
that even reminds me, can you give me a little bit more insight about Greatly and what you guys do at Greatly?
So Greatly uses technology, right, to implement one-on-one student attention. So Greatly believes that if you provided one-on-one tutor attention to a child, that child will, even if it's an average child, will perform exceptionally. And it's based on learning science by Benjamin Bloom that speaks to the fact that when children giving that mastery learning, that's what it's called, that one-on-one attention. So we provide that one-on-one attention by providing assessment. So similar to what you mentioned, the gap analysis. So based on the assessment, we analyze what your gaps are. And then on the back of those gaps, we now recommend video lessons. And we have about 4,000 plus video lessons and generating a lot more. And so you watch those videos, it helps you with the areas that you are struggling with. And if you still need help, you then get one-on-one teacher attention. So we deploy our teachers. Right now, we have nearly 200 teachers on the platform.
Wow.
Yes.
Wow. Interesting.
And we're in 8 countries, and a lot of diaspora parents use greatly.
Yeah, I know a lot of them will find it very helpful. Then I know you talked about the NLT. Can you talk a little bit more about that?
Yeah, so just like I mentioned earlier, the NLT, the National Literacy Test, is something that I believe that if we are able to, first of all, make common entrance, great again, or make common entrance relevant again.
Yes.
Because it's
and
not
that may be
relevant
possible
today.
because some of this, for instance, in Enugu, the government is really investing in public schools, and the public schools are kind of looking nicer than the private ones. Yeah. And if they achieve that feat, then and they are putting common entrance as a baseline. Yeah. And I think it will start getting back its relevance.
Exactly. So essentially, the idea is that I think that we need such a national test.
Okay.
Whether or not people are using it to place, we need everybody to take that test and use that to tell that at age 10, are you illiterate or not? And how many people are literate by age 10? So that's literally the idea of it. Maybe one more question before we wrap up is, you see, the world is changing really fast. AI is taking over, and the question many people have been asking, apart from trying to switch from manual to CBT, right? What other things can we, leverage technology to do? What things can you see like 5 years down the line, 10 years down the line that will change about how we do exams, how we assess, how we, place students and those.
Yeah, I think part of the things you're already doing for me is very critical, like personalization in learning, because at the end of the day, when learning becomes more personalized, the impact is a lot more felt. Yeah. So a lot of technologies are going to be done. Like even the AI today is now focusing a lot more on personalization, trying to understand you. It's no more about generic question and answer. It's about trying to understand you as a person. So whenever you're asking a question, it gives you feedback that makes even more sense to you. Yes. So in the future, learning will have to be a lot more personalized. But I think for me, you're already ahead in terms of trying to provide what the future really needs.
Yes. Actually, I said that was the last question, but one more question.
Yeah, go ahead.
It's a political question.
Yes.
Today, government spends, even in the education ministry, government spends it, and we have 6% of our budget going to education. Even though people say it should be more, but even that is a lot of money. And majority of that money goes to tertiary education. Yes. I propose that we don't spend all that money on tertiary education. We make all tertiary education private and then give the money to the students as scholarships or grants, and then they choose which school they want to go. And that would increase quality in the universities and make them sit up. What do you think?
Honestly speaking, the idea makes a lot of sense. The only problem I have with government and this spending is this. The 6% that was devoted for education, right? Trust me, less than 0.001% will actually be spent for the purpose. The rest will be stolen. So based on that, but then even that 0.001 that will actually not be stolen, if they actually utilize it properly, you will see a lot of very good impact.
Are you going to run for political office at any point?
No. I hate politics. No.
But you're doing so many things in your village.
The idea is basically, for me, society is for all of us. You will come, you will go. The society will remain. So for me, I feel that everybody, as much as you can, contribute to your quota to ensure that society. For me, the benchmark is let our society work. Yeah. I don't have to be the person. If you are the one going for politics, I will definitely support you. The most important thing is that whatever you are doing, wherever you are, whatever I'm doing, wherever I am, our society has to work.
100%. I'm with you on that.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for your time.
You're welcome.
Glad to have you.
Thank you so much.
Yes.